And fans were calling for a quarterback change in Washington last night, just a few weeks into the start of the season. That's where we begin Monday Night Football. Washington looking for their first win on the year, hosting the Chicago Bears, and this one wasn't close. Bears up as many as 25 at the half, went on to win 31-15, and that Bears defense did not make things easy on Case Keenum. Keenum throwing 3 interceptions, lost 2 fumbles, and had to hear fans chanting Dwayne Haskins midway through the game. Head coach Jay Gruden was asked about a quarterback change after the loss.
Jay, you're 0-3. You drafted a quarterback in the first round. Is there a chance that you can make a switch at that position?
Not really, no. I think the most important thing is we have to have some continuity. You know, I can't be changing people every 5 minutes here. So I think Case, I got to give Case an ample opportunity to play with these new guys. I mean, this is his first time in this offense, really. You know, Donald Penn, Eric Flowers, their first time in this offense. You know, Trey Quinn only played 2 games last year. I made this point before. We're not going to be perfect, but we need to be better, and I think we can get better. Otherwise, if I didn't think we had a chance to get better, then I would make a change. But I feel like Case has the tools to become a very efficient quarterback in this offense and get us some victories here moving forward.
Jay Gruden saying he wants to be consistent. They're pretty consistent 3 weeks into the season, perhaps not the way they want to be. See, does Washington need to make the switch to Haskins at this point, or is it too early?
I believe it's too early. I think that Jay makes a good point as far as if you look at the overall continuity as far as NFL offenses. Has Case really had a good opportunity? Because he wasn't supposed to be the starter. Colt McCoy was penciled to be the starter. Now he got hurt, and now Case took over for him. And now with Haskins in the wings, it's still early in the season. I wouldn't panic. Wholesale changes on that offensive line. And if I'm concerned about the offensive line, why would I put the kid in there, allow him to get hit, where I can wait 8, 9, 10 games? Like, there is no exacta that I have to bring in the first-round pick in the first month of the season. But as we talk about all the time, if you draft him in the first round, he's going to play at some point. And for me, I believe that Case hadn't played enough football. With the changes on the offensive line, you got new receivers. They should give this a little more time. I don't see it lasting more than probably another month. But if we get to 5, 6 games into the season, you're 4 or 5 games out of first place already, then it would be time for Haskins. I wouldn't rush him in there right now.
I get why, in theory, they wouldn't do it this week, even though you have a Giants defense that can be had coming up. If for no other reason than you played on a Monday night. So it's a shorter week than you usually would have, 1 less day of preparation. But the longer they wait to make the inevitable switch to Dwayne Haskins, the more time is wasted. I mean, Jay Gruden at this point, he and Dan Quinn are the dueling coaches right now, coaching for their jobs, not over the course of the year, but over the course of the next month, over the course of the next 6 weeks. And if you're a Washington fan, a Washington team that I think last night fell in its franchise history to 2-17 on Monday Night Football, and you look at the last, 20-some years of Washington football, you've had 1 season of real hope, 1 glimmer of, wait, maybe it'll be different. And that got blown up the moment RG3's knee got tragically blown up in that playoff game. And you drafted Haskins knowing who you had at the quarterback position, knowing that Case Keenum, aside from that magical year in Minnesota where he had a top 2 defense, maybe the best pair of wide receivers in the league, a solid coaching staff when he was solid. Aside from that year, Case Keenum's been a backup level quarterback in this league. And if 5 turnovers on Monday Night Football, just giving the game away to Chicago. Chicago got their offense going late, but early on they didn't need it because there was a pick six going the other way. It was Case Keenum doing a Statue of Liberty to Khalil Mack repeatedly. If that's not going to be enough, then what would be enough? And you do wonder if this harkens back to before the season when around the draft you heard within the Washington organization, front office really liked Haskins. Coaching staff, not so much, because if you're a bad team and you don't have a franchise quarterback starting, this is when you make the change. Not so different than what the New York Giants did this past week, going from Eli, who obviously is a hell of a lot more entrenched than Case Keenum,
Sure,
to Daniel Jones. They're going to make the change eventually. I'm not sure what is gained by delaying.
Yeah, I think if we put him in right now, we're overreacting. If you look at their schedule, look at the teams that they've played. Potentially 3 playoff teams, right? Who
Philadelphia, Dallas, Chicago.
Okay, so they probably had the toughest schedule that we've seen. It is true that Case, it's his first year in the offense. And if we're being fair to him, now I know that there's rumors. There's always rumors as far as the football people are split, the other people are split. You know, there's one player, but we have 2 different feelings about it. There might be going on but Haskins, to me, with that unpredictable offensive line, they haven't been able to run the ball. Are we doing Haskins a favor by keeping him out, allowing him to watch? I don't believe we're doing Haskins' career any harm by having him watch what's going on, sit there, and then, once the season is out of reach, then get him some reps. That's been the more successful recipe compared to, I'm getting ready to put him in there, he's getting ready to get battered. And especially against Chicago. I'm not putting him there against Chicago, so I'm going to wait a little more time. It's a long season, and with all the replacement players that they're playing with and young receivers, it's hard on Haskins. I believe you're putting him in an environment that's not the most conducive for him to be able to try to get some wins and get some positive play up under his belt.
On the other side of the ball, Mitch Trubisky, after a real sluggish, slow start to the season, promised that he'd come out with a little more energy and firepower, and they delivered. I don't know how much of that is who their competition was, but they finally put together the game that we thought this team could be. What'd you see from Trubisky last night?
Trubisky still has me nervous because I see the play calling, and I know, regardless of what they say in the press conference, I can tell how much confidence the coach has in the quarterback based on when do they throw, where do they throw, and how often they throw. Are they attacking the field? We watch, and I know we're all consumed with Patty Mahomes. We should be. Watch Andy Reid, the way he calls plays. The way he sends receivers into the routes is if I know I have a guy that can deliver the ball in different spots and no worries. No, that's not what I see from Matt Nagy, the head coach, who I believe is a really good coach and a good play caller who is restricted based on the inconsistency of Trubisky passing the ball. Yes, he's mobile. Yes, he can get out of some trouble. But his inability to be able to consistently deliver the ball in the pocket, it has me concerned as far as the Bears with the Vikings, underrated Detroit team, and the Packers all being in that division. That's probably the toughest division in football.
Matt Nagy, by the way, an Andy Reid disciple. Just quickly on Trubisky. Going into last night's game, teams that were +4 in the turnover battle in NFL history are 46 0-1. The Washington last night was -4. They weren't going to win the football game. If the Bears have adequate, average, 14th best in the league quarterback play, they can win the Super Bowl. If they get quarterback play like that from Mitch Trubisky throughout the year, they can win the Super Bowl. That defense is monstrous. The concern is, do they have the 24th best quarterback in football or worse? I'm not going to overreact to what Mitch did after the defense gave him short field after short field, defensive score.
Yep.
So many advantages. It would have been criminal for Chicago to lose that game last night. At no point did you think they could. That was, to me, more about their defense and Washington's ineffectiveness.
All right, good start. Take a break. Coming up, should we be skeptical of the Cowboys after their hot start to the season? We'll tell you why we're asking next on FS1. You can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel on Sirius XM.